If you've ever felt like you're smart but nobody notices, or you constantly wonder why your brain works differently than everyone else's, this video will change everything. Because by the end of these 25 minutes, you'll discover the 10 hidden habits that separate high IQ individuals from the rest. And here's the thing. Most people will recognize themselves in at least 3 of these and still do nothing about it. Don't be that person. Miss even one section, and you'll keep wondering why success feels harder for you than it should. Picture this. You're in a meeting. Someone asks a question. While everyone else jumps in with half-baked answers, there's always that one person who sits quietly, almost uncomfortably so. Then, when they finally speak, the entire room goes silent. Their answer is clear, precise, and it solves the problem everyone else was dancing around. That's not luck. That's habit number 1 in action. And today, we're breaking down all 10 of these patterns so you can recognize them in yourself or start building them from scratch. Habit 1. They talk less, think more. Here's what most people get wrong about conversations. They think speed equals intelligence. Whoever answers first must know the most. Right? Dead wrong. High IQ individuals treat their words like currency. They don't spend them carelessly. When everyone else is racing to fill the silence, they're sitting there running diagnostics. Their brain is literally performing a quality check on every sentence before it exits their mouth. There's actual neuroscience behind this. Research from the University of Cambridge shows that people with higher fluid intelligence engage in what's called internal verbalization. They rehearse their thoughts silently before speaking. It's like having a built-in editor that refuses to publish rough drafts. This is why when they finally contribute to a conversation, their words carry weight. They're not just making noise, they're delivering value. But here's the deeper layer most people miss. This habit isn't about being quiet for the sake of being mysterious. It's about respecting the power of language. To high IQ individuals, words are tools of precision, not weapons of impression. They'd rather be thought of as quiet than be remembered for saying something stupid. And in a world where everyone's competing for airtime, their silence becomes their loudest statement. Now, how do you develop this? Start with a simple rule. Before you speak in any conversation, pause for 3 seconds. Count it in your head. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. In those 3 seconds, ask yourself, does this add value or am I just filling space? You'll be shocked how many times the answer is the latter. This single habit will transform how people perceive you. You'll go from being just another voice to being the voice people actually wait for. Habit 2. They question everything, even the obvious. Let's be honest, smart people can be annoying. I'm saying this with love, but it's true, because they don't accept anything at face value. You tell them the sky is blue. They ask why it's blue. You say that's just how it works. And they're already 3 articles deep into Rayleigh scattering and atmospheric optics. But here's what you need to understand. They're not trying to be difficult. They're not questioning you to make you feel small. They're genuinely, deeply curious about how the world actually works. This habit builds what psychologists call critical thinking architecture. Every time they question something obvious, they're strengthening neural pathways that help them spot flaws in systems, see through bad logic, and identify opportunities everyone else misses. It's like CrossFit for your brain. And just like physical training, it gets uncomfortable. This is also why high IQ people struggle with arbitrary rules. If a rule doesn't make logical sense, following it feels like intellectual prison. They need to understand the why before they commit to the what. And in rigid environments, this makes them seem rebellious or difficult. But in dynamic environments, this makes them invaluable. They're the ones who'll tell you the emperor has no clothes, while everyone else is complimenting his wardrobe. So how do you cultivate this? Start questioning one assumption per day. Just one. It could be as simple as, why do we have a 5-day work week? Or why is college considered the only path to success? Don't just accept the first answer you find. Dig 3 levels deep. Ask why to the answer, then ask why to that answer. This is called the 5 whys technique, and it's how Toyota revolutionized manufacturing. More importantly, it's how you revolutionize your thinking. Habit 3. They're obsessed with patterns. High IQ brains are pattern recognition machines on steroids. They see connections everywhere. In conversations, in data, in human behavior, in systems that everyone else thinks are random. It's like they're playing a version of connect the dots that exists on a different dimension. And because of this, they can predict outcomes before they happen. Let me give you a real example. A high IQ person watches their company implement a new policy. Everyone else just shrugs and adapts. But they notice something. This policy is structurally similar to something the company tried 4 years ago that failed. They see the pattern. They predict the failure. And sure enough, 6 months later, the policy gets reversed. Everyone's surprised. Except them. They saw it coming because they spotted the pattern. The neuroscience here is fascinating. Studies show that high IQ individuals have more active connections between their brain's pattern recognition centers and their memory systems. They're constantly cross-referencing new information with existing data. It happens automatically. They can't turn it off. And honestly, that's exhausting. Once you start seeing patterns everywhere, you can't unsee them. Every conversation becomes a data point. Every behavior becomes a trend. Every decision becomes a predictable outcome. But here's the advantage. Pattern recognition is the foundation of strategic thinking. When you see patterns, you see the future. Not in a mystical way, but in a probabilistic way. You understand that if A and B happened before C, and you're seeing A and B again, C is likely coming. This is how chess grandmasters think 10 moves ahead. This is how investors spot opportunities before they're obvious. This is how leaders anticipate problems before they explode. How do you build this skill? Start keeping a decision journal. Every time you make a significant decision, write down what you decided, why you decided it, and what you think will happen. Then, 3 months later, review it. Look for patterns in what worked and what didn't. Over time, you'll start recognizing your own cognitive patterns, and that's when you can start recognizing external patterns with scary accuracy. Now, here's what most people watching this video won't tell you. If you've related to these first 3 habits, you're probably also dealing with something else. A nagging feeling that you're operating at half capacity, that you could be doing more, achieving more, but something's holding you back. Keep watching, because habits 4 through 6 are where we separate people who are smart from people who actually use their intelligence effectively. This is where it gets real. Habit 4. They love solving problems nobody asked them to solve. You know that person who looks at a messy spreadsheet and immediately thinks I could automate this with a simple script? Or the one who reorganizes the office supply closet, even though it's not their job? That's a high IQ person in their natural habitat. They see inefficiency, and it physically bothers them. Not in a judgmental way. In a, this is a puzzle, and I need to solve it way. For them, problem solving isn't work. It's play. It's their brain's version of a video game. They get a dopamine hit from optimization. They create systems, invent shortcuts, build processes that nobody asked for, but everyone benefits from, and they do it for free. Why? Because the satisfaction of solving the problem is the reward. But here's the flip side. This habit can create friction. They'll see an obvious solution to a problem and get frustrated when others don't see it. What's crystal clear to them is completely invisible to everyone else. They'll spend hours fixing something that nobody else even knew was broken. And sometimes, people get defensive. They interpret helpful optimization as criticism. Here's a real scenario. A high IQ employee notices their team's weekly meeting could be cut from 1 hour to 20 minutes if they just restructured the agenda and used asynchronous updates for routine items. They propose this. Half the team loves it. The other half feels like they're being told they've been wasting time for months. The high IQ person is confused. They were just solving a problem. But not everyone wants their problem solved. So how do you develop this habit without annoying everyone? First, solve problems in your own domain. Fix your own workflows. Optimize your own systems. Document what worked. Then, when people notice your efficiency, they'll ask how you did it. That's your opening to share solutions without seeming pushy. Second, when you do propose solutions to team problems, frame it as an experiment, not a fix. Say something like, "What if we tried this for 2 weeks and measured the results?" People are less defensive about experiments than about being told they're doing it wrong. Habit 5. They read, but differently. High IQ people don't read to finish books. They read to absorb models of thinking. That's why their reading list looks completely insane. Monday, it's philosophy. Tuesday, it's neuroscience. Wednesday, it's coding tutorials. Thursday, it's ancient Roman history. Friday, it's quantum physics for beginners. It seems random, but it's not. It's deliberate cross-training for the brain. They're not trying to become experts in everything. That's impossible, and they know it. They're collecting mental frameworks. They want to understand how a physicist thinks versus how a philosopher thinks versus how an economist thinks. Then they blend these perspectives to create unique insights. This is what Steve Jobs meant when he talked about connecting dots from different disciplines. You can't connect dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward. But you need a lot of different dots to connect. Here's what this looks like in practice. A high IQ person reads a book about evolutionary biology. They learn about adaptation and survival of the fittest. Then they read a book about business strategy. Suddenly, they see how market competition mirrors natural selection. Companies that adapt survive. Companies that don't go extinct. That connection didn't come from reading more business books. It came from reading outside their field. The neuroscience backs this up. Studies show that exposure to diverse knowledge domains increases cognitive flexibility. Your brain builds more neural pathways. You develop what's called associative thinking, the ability to connect seemingly unrelated concepts, and that's where innovation lives. In the space between disciplines. So, how do you read like a high IQ person? Use the 1/3 rule. 1/3 of your reading should be directly related to your field or goals. 1/3 should be adjacent, close, but not identical. 1/3 should be completely random, stuff that has nothing to do with your current life. This forces your brain to make unexpected connections. Also, don't finish books you're not enjoying. High IQ readers extract what's valuable and move on. They're mining for frameworks, not completing assignments. Habit 6. They think in layers, not circles. This is the habit that separates high IQ from high achievers, and most intelligent people watching this video will misunderstand it. So, pay attention. Yes, they overthink, but not the way you think. Most people overthink in circles. Same worry, different day. It's like a hamster wheel of anxiety. High IQ people, they overthink in layers. They imagine every possible outcome, identify every potential flaw, run mental simulations, then simplify everything down to the best move. It's mental chess, 10 moves ahead. This isn't anxiety. This is strategic depth. They're not stuck in their head. They're building in their head. Picture an architect designing a skyscraper. They don't just sketch the outside. They think about structural integrity, electrical systems, plumbing, fire safety, earthquake resistance, every layer. That's how high IQ people approach decisions. They consider all the layers before committing to the blueprint. And here's why this matters. By the time they act, they've already tested the idea hundreds of times mentally. They've anticipated objections. They've planned for failures. They've stress tested their assumptions. That's why they seem so calm when making big decisions. They've already lived through every version of disaster in their mind and either solved it or decided the risk is acceptable. The difference between productive overthinking and destructive overthinking comes down to one thing: direction. Circular overthinking has no direction. It's just worry spinning in place. Layered thinking has clear direction. It's analyzing to decide, not analyzing to avoid deciding. If your overthinking leads to a decision or a plan, it's strategic. If it just leads to more overthinking, it's anxiety. How do you develop layered thinking? Use decision trees. When facing a choice, write down the decision at the top. Draw branches for each option. Under each option, write possible outcomes. Under each outcome, write your response. Keep branching until you've explored 3 to 4 layers deep. Then, look at your tree. Usually, one path will emerge as clearly stronger. This externalizes the layered thinking process and makes it manageable. And here's something almost nobody tells you about high intelligence. The habits we just covered, 1 through 6, those are the skills that get you noticed. But habits 7 through 10, these are the ones that actually determine whether you succeed or burn out. Because intelligence without these next 4 habits is just potential with nowhere to go. Let's keep going. Habit 7. They can sit in silence and actually enjoy it. Most people hate silence. It's uncomfortable. It forces you to be alone with your thoughts. And let's be real, for a lot of us, that's terrifying. We fill every quiet moment with podcasts, music, scrolling, anything to avoid the noise in our own heads. But high IQ people, they crave silence. They protect it like a valuable resource. And this is where most intelligent people sabotage themselves. They know they need silence, but they feel guilty taking it. Here's why silence matters. It's where their brain organizes chaos. It's where insights emerge. Those aha moments that seem to come out of nowhere, they were actually born in silence. When you're constantly consuming information, your brain is in input mode. It's receiving, 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 but it never gets time to process. Silence is processing time. It's when your brain connects the dots, consolidates memories, and generates original thoughts. There's hard science here. Research shows that periods of silence stimulate brain growth in the hippocampus, the region associated with memory and learning. Silence also lowers cortisol and reduces stress, but beyond the biology, there's a practical advantage. In silence, you hear your own thoughts clearly. You notice patterns you've been missing. You realize solutions that were buried under noise. High IQ people aren't being antisocial when they seek solitude. They're not ignoring you. They're recharging their most valuable asset, their cognitive capacity. In a world that's constantly screaming for attention, their ability to sit still and think is their secret weapon. It's where clarity lives. How do you build comfort with silence? Start small. 5 minutes a day. No phone, no music, no input. Just you and your thoughts. Sit somewhere comfortable. Don't meditate if that feels forced. Just sit. Let your mind wander. At first, it'll feel weird. You'll get antsy. That's normal. Push through. After a week, you'll start noticing something. Ideas will surface. Solutions to problems you forgot you were thinking about. Clarity on decisions you've been avoiding. That's your brain doing its job when you finally give it space to work. Habit 8. They're brutally honest with themselves. Here's where it gets uncomfortable. And honestly, this is the habit that makes high IQ people difficult to work with. High IQ people don't sugarcoat their failures. If they mess up, They don't blame the economy, bad luck, unfair circumstances, or other people. They look in the mirror and say, "That's on me." This level of self-awareness is rare. Most of us construct elaborate stories to protect our ego. We lie to ourselves to feel better. But high IQ individuals can't, because they know a fundamental truth. You can't fix what you refuse to see. Brutal self-honesty is the foundation of improvement. If you're lying to yourself about why you failed, you'll just repeat the same failure with a different excuse. But if you admit the real reason, even when it's painful, you can actually change. This is also why they have impossibly high standards, not just for others, but especially for themselves. Because mediocrity feels like betrayal when you know exactly what you're capable of. They have a clear picture of their potential, and when they fall short, they don't shrug it off. They analyze why. What went wrong? What could I have done differently? What do I need to learn? But here's the trap. Brutal self-honesty without self-compassion becomes self-destruction. Some high IQ people take this too far. They become hypercritical. They beat themselves up over small mistakes. They set impossible standards and then hate themselves for not meeting them. That's not productive. That's just pain. The balance is this. Be honest about your failures, but kind about your humanity. Recognize what you did wrong. Commit to doing better. Then let it go. Don't carry it like a weight. High IQ doesn't mean perfection. It means learning. And learning requires making mistakes, admitting them, and moving forward. How do you practice this? After every significant outcome, good or bad, do a personal postmortem. Write 3 things. What went well and why? What went poorly and why? What I'll do differently next time. Be specific. Be honest. And then, this is crucial, write 1 sentence of self-compassion. Something like, "I'm learning and growth takes time." This balances accountability with kindness. Habit 9. They manage energy, not time. While everyone else is scheduling their day by the hour, high IQ people are scheduling by energy. They've figured out something most productivity gurus miss. Time is infinite in the sense that it keeps passing regardless. But mental energy? That's the real currency. You only get so much high-quality cognitive power per day. Once it's gone until tomorrow. So, they protect their peak hours. Morning, deep work. Afternoon, creative tasks. Evening, low-stakes work. They don't force productivity. They flow with their cognitive rhythm. This is backed by chronobiology research. Your brain has natural peaks and valleys throughout the day. For most people, peak cognitive performance happens 2 to 4 hours after waking. Then there's a dip after lunch. Then, a smaller peak in late afternoon. High IQ people know their personal rhythm and design their day around it. Here's what this looks like. Let's say you're sharpest from 9 to 11 a.m. That's when you schedule your hardest task. Not meetings, not email. Your most important cognitive work. Then, when your energy dips around 2 p.m., you don't fight it. You switch to tasks that require less brain power. You're working with your biology, not against it. The trap most people fall into is treating all hours as equal. They'll schedule a critical strategy session at 4 p.m. on a Friday when their brain is running on fumes. Then they wonder why the meeting was unproductive. Or they'll waste their peak morning hours on email and admin, then try to do deep work in the afternoon when they're mentally exhausted. It's backwards. How do you implement this? Track your energy for 1 week. Every hour, rate your mental clarity on a scale of 1 to 10. Note when you feel sharpest and when you feel foggy. Patterns will emerge. Once you know your rhythm, redesign your schedule. Protect your peak hours for your most important work. Batch low-energy tasks for low-energy times. This single shift can double your effective output without working more hours. Habit 10. They know how to sound normal. Now, this is the reason truly intelligent people often go unnoticed, and it's the most counterintuitive habit on this list. Truly intelligent people don't sound intelligent. They blend in. They take complex ideas and translate them into simple language so everyone can understand. That's emotional intelligence meeting raw intellect. Because real genius isn't about sounding smart, it's about making others feel smart. Think about the best teacher you ever had. They probably made difficult concepts feel easy. They used analogies you could relate to. They checked if you understood. They didn't show off their knowledge. They shared it in a way you could absorb. That's what high IQ people do in conversation. They code switch. They match their communication style to their audience. This requires two skills most people underestimate. First, deep understanding. You can only simplify something if you truly understand it. Surface-level knowledge can't be translated. It just gets repeated in jargon. But deep understanding can be explained to anyone. Einstein allegedly said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. That's the test. Second, empathy. You need to understand what your audience already knows and what they don't. You need to meet them where they are, not where you are. High IQ people don't use big words to impress you. They use clear words to connect with you. And that's the ultimate flex. Anyone can make simple things sound complicated. That's easy. Just add jargon. But making complicated things sound simple? That takes real intelligence. Here's the practical application. When you catch yourself using technical terms or complex explanations, pause. Ask yourself, would a smart 12-year-old understand this? If not, simplify. Use analogies. Use stories. Use concrete examples. Your goal isn't to sound smart. Your goal is to be understood. And ironically, when you're clearly understood, people think you're smarter, not dumber. So, here's what we've covered. 10 habits that reveal high IQ even when people don't realize they have it. Talk less, think more. Question everything. Obsess over patterns. Solve unsolicited problems. Read across disciplines. Think in layers, not circles. Embrace silence. Practice brutal self-honesty. Manage energy, not time. And simplify complexity. Now here's the truth. If this video made you uncomfortable at any point, if you found yourself thinking, yeah, but that's just normal, or if you recognized yourself in 5 or more of these habits, that discomfort is telling you something. Your brain works differently. You've probably known it your whole life, but downplayed it. Don't. These aren't quirks. These are advantages, but only if you actually use them. Which of these 10 habits hit home hardest for you? Drop a number in the comments. Let's see which one resonates most with this community. And if this video added value, hit that like button. Share it with someone who needs to hear this. Subscribe because we're building something here, a community of people who think differently and are done pretending they don't. In the next video, we're tackling the biggest lie about discipline that's keeping you stuck. The one belief about willpower and motivation that sounds true, feels true, but is actually sabotaging your progress without you even knowing it. You won't want to miss it.